Imagine for a second that you're just sitting at your desk.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday morning, you've got this massive stack of work to get through, and you just reach for your headphones.
Right, just getting in the zone.
Exactly. You put them on, maybe they're those really nice high-end noise-canceling ones you finally splurged on.
Oh, yeah, the over-ear ones?
Yeah, those. You put on your favorite playlist, something with a good rhythm to help you focus, and you start typing.
Sounds like a totally normal morning.
It feels completely normal, and here is the reality we're diving into today. Those headphones aren't just pushing sound waves into your ears, they are actively pulling data out of your brain.
It really sounds like the opening scene of a cyberpunk novel, doesn't it? Just this silent observer sitting right there on your temples.
It totally does. But here's the twist that makes this so specific to our deep dive today. These headphones are tracking your cognitive fitness.
Cognitive fitness.
Right. Yeah, they know when you're focused. They know when you're distracted. They actually know when your brain is metabolically tired before you even feel the urge to yawn.
And the craziest part is that data isn't just for you to look at on your phone. It's being fed into an algorithm to determine if you are actually ready to perform.
And that concept, that very blurry line between using technology to enhance the mind versus using it to monitor and, frankly, control it, is exactly what we are getting into today.
We have a fascinating and honestly a pretty chilling set of documents to unpack for you today.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We are looking squarely at a new report by Elias Sternstein. It's titled AI-Powered Military Neurotech, Mind Enhancement or Control. And it was just published recently, January 22nd, 2026.
Yeah, this is a heavy one. We aren't just talking about, fun gadgets or the latest consumer tech trends here. We are talking about the fundamental privacy of your own thoughts.
Right.
So our mission today is to act as your guides through a very complex new reality. We are going to break down this highly specific partnership between the U.S. Air Force and a tech startup.
And then follow that thread.
Exactly. Follow the thread straight into the deeper ethical, legal, and truly terrifying implications of military neurotechnology.
So grab your coffee or maybe take off your smartwatch for a second if you want to feel a little more analog today, because we are going to get deep into the weeds of brain-computer interfaces.
Let's start with the news hook.
Yeah.
What actually happened recently to spark this whole debate?
Well, the core news is a partnership. On one side, you've got the United States Air Force, and they are specifically looking at readiness and training for their personnel.
Makes sense.
Right. And on the other side, you have this company called Neurable. Now, Neurable isn't some secretive defense contractor.
No, they're a consumer startup.
Exactly. They're a consumer neurotech startup. They make stuff that you or I could theoretically just go buy online.
And what are the actual numbers on this deal?
It's a $1.2 million project. The Air Force is paying Neurable to study whether their electrode-studded headphones can effectively track the cognitive fitness of service members.
Cognitive fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a sanitized corporate way of saying scanning your brainwaves.
It really is. It sounds like a motivational poster in a break room. Improve your cognitive fitness today.
Right. But the analogy the article uses is actually super helpful to wrap your head around the intent here. Think about the Space Force, or really just think about anyone using a Garmin smartwatch to run.
Oh, sure. I wear one. It tracks my heart rate, my steps, my sleep cycles. It basically tells me if I'm physically ready to go for a run or if my recovery was total garbage and I need a rest day.
Exactly. And the military already uses that kind of physical tracking technology extensively. They track physical readiness constantly. So the argument they are making here is, why aren't we doing the exact same thing for the brain?
Because it's an organ just like anything else.
Right. The brain is a biological organ, just like your heart or your lungs. It gets tired, it gets stressed out, it performs optimally under certain conditions and really poorly under others.
So this project is essentially trying to build a Garmin for your mind.
That is the perfect way to put it.
Okay, when you put it that way, it actually sounds kind of logical. Like, if I'm a fighter pilot, I absolutely want to know if my brain is too fatigued to fly safely, even if I personally feel okay.
Because adrenaline hides fatigue.
Exactly. Sometimes you're running on pure adrenaline and you don't even realize you're running on empty until you make a mistake.
And that is the core of the enhancement argument about safety and peak performance. But, and this is a big but, we have to look at the broader context.
Right, the 1.2 million is just a drop in the bucket.
It is. This deal isn't happening in a vacuum. It sits inside a massive Pentagon investment in what is known as the BCI market. That's brain-computer interfaces. And that overall market is valued at around $3 billion.
3 billion. So this Air Force thing is just a tiny proof of concept for a very expensive puzzle.
Precisely. And for those listening who might not be super familiar with the terminology, let's just define BCI quickly, based on the text.
Yeah, let's break that down.
BCI refers to any device, so helmets, earbuds, wearables, or even medical implants, that uses artificial intelligence to make sense of human brain signals.
Make sense of them. I think that's the key phrase, isn't it? Because normally the brain is just firing raw electricity. It's just noise.
Oh, it is absolute chaos in there. Billions of neurons just firing constantly. It means nothing to us until AI comes along.
And that is why this is happening right now, isn't it? Because the AI caught up.
Exactly. But before we get too deep into the AI revolution part of it, we really should clarify that the military has actually been interested in this for a very long time. This isn't a sudden, out-of-the-blue interest.
Right. The source material explicitly mentions the Defense Department has been funding BCI research since the 1970s.
Yes. But back in the 70s, and honestly for decades after that, the focus was almost entirely restorative.
Meaning fixing things.
Yeah. They were looking at ways to restore eyesight for soldiers who had been blinded, or figuring out how to let someone control a prosthetic arm using just their brain signals. It was about fixing what was broken in combat.
The wounded warrior application, restoring basic human function to people who sacrificed it.
Exactly. And obviously, we still see that today. I mean, the most high-profile example everyone knows right now is Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Oh, for sure. You've seen those videos, right? Where paralyzed patients are playing chess or typing words on a screen just by imagining the movement.
Yes, which is miraculous technology. I mean, truly life-changing stuff. It is very hard to be cynical about a piece of tech that gives someone the ability to communicate again.
It really is. But our deep dive today isn't about the miracle of curing paralysis.
Yeah.
It's about the shift from restoration for the injured to monitoring and enhancement of perfectly healthy individuals. And the absolute catalyst for that shift is what the article calls the AI multiplier.
Let's unpack that AI multiplier. How does AI actually change the game here?
Well, as you noted earlier, the brain is incredibly noisy. It's this storm of electrical signals. In the past, trying to decode that noise required massive computers, and it took a really long time.
Right, you'd need a supercomputer in a lab just to figure out if a subject was thinking about moving their left hand or their right hand.
Exactly. Modern AI, however, has totally flipped the script. It can interpret brain activity with what the source calls unprecedented accuracy and speed.
So it's not just seeing a vague spike in electrical activity anymore. It's actually understanding what that activity means and doing it in real time.
Right. And the capabilities listed in the source are startling, frankly. The AI can reveal your mental states. It can reveal visual perceptions, like literally decoding what you were seeing with your eyes. And perhaps most intriguingly, it can potentially reveal your inner dialogue.
Inner dialogue.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's the voice in my head. That's the voice I use to talk to myself. That is arguably the most private space in the entire universe.
Yes, it is. And that brings us directly to the central tension of this whole topic. If a device can read your inner dialogue, or even just your emotional state or your precise fatigue level, who owns that data?
And more importantly, how can it be used against you?
Exactly. This is where we need to introduce the main expert voice from the article, James Giordano.
He has quite the resume.
He really does. He's the director of the National Defense University Center for Disruptive Technology and Future Warfare. He's also a neuroethicist.
And Giordano is a very, very significant voice in this field. He's the one actively waving the red flag in this report.
What's his main concern?
He warns that while the tech is obviously amazing, the quote-unquote enforced use of these devices creates a foundational basis for behavioral control.
Behavioral control. Man, that sounds incredibly dystopian.
He actually explicitly uses the word dystopian. Just imagine a scenario where a soldier, or eventually, just a regular corporate employee, is required to wear this device at their desk or in the field.
Okay.
The data streams back and shows they are distracted or anxious. That data isn't just used to politely say, hey, take a quick break. It could be used to penalize them.
Wow.
It could be used to reassign them to a worse job or to manipulate their immediate environment to force them back into a state of focus.
It completely strips away your ability to fake it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like sometimes you're having a terrible day, you're exhausted, you're stressed, but you just power through. You put on a smile, you nod at your boss, and you get the job done. This tech says, no, the smile is fake. I know you're actually miserable and completely unfocused.
Exactly. It completely removes the mask. And Giordano's point is that because of this massive risk, there is an absolute non-negotiable requirement for ongoing, active, informed consent.
Meaning the soldier or the user has to be able to say no.
And not just say no once at the beginning during onboarding, they need to be able to opt in or opt out at any given moment without any penalty.
Right, because if you can't take the headphones off without losing your chance at a promotion or getting fired, is it really consent?
No, it's coercion disguised as a safety protocol.
So I have a question about the legal side of this. I assume our current privacy laws cover this, right? Like we have HIPAA in the US that covers sensitive medical data.
Ugh. And here is the huge aha moment for a lot of listeners. You would really think so. But Giordano points out a massive, glaring gap in the law. IPA was passed in 1996.
1996. I mean, I was listening to CDs on a Walkman in 1996.
Exactly.
The internet was barely a thing people had in their houses.
Exactly. HIPAA predates global Wi-Fi. It predates the smartphone entirely. It predates the cloud. And crucially, HIPAA regulates healthcare providers.
Like doctors, hospitals, health insurance companies.
Right. It does not cover app developers. It does not cover massive cloud server providers. And it certainly does not cover consumer wearable designers like Neurable.
Let me get this straight. If my doctor puts an EEG machine on my head in a hospital to check me for epilepsy, that data is federally protected by IPA.
Yes.
But if I buy a pair of headphones from a tech startup that puts an EEG on my head, that data is just the Wild West.
Effectively, yes. Unless the company happens to have its own incredibly strict self-imposed privacy policy, federal health laws largely do not touch it. It is treated like consumer data, like your search history or your shopping habits, not medical data.
That is deeply terrifying.
It really is.
Okay, before we spiral too far down the legal nightmare rabbit hole, I really want to understand the actual physical tech.
Okay.
What exactly are these Air Force guys putting on their heads right now?
So Neurable has this consumer product called the Master and Dynamic luxury headphones.
Master and Dynamic, okay.
Yeah, and they look just like really nice high-end over-ear headphones.
Yeah,
But the ear cups are lined with fabric EEG sensors.
electroencephalogram.
You got it.
Wait, fabric. So no gel. Because whenever I picture brain scans, I picture that awful goop they have to put all over your scalp that takes like 3 showers to finally wash out.
No goop at all. That is the big innovation here. It uses electrically conductive inks woven into the fabric sensors. It's completely dry, it's comfortable, and from the outside it looks totally normal.
Which massively lowers the barrier to entry. People will wear them.
Exactly. You don't feel like you're in a lab.
And what is the algorithm inside these normal-looking headphones actually doing?
It's constantly mapping your brain waves
Yeah.
against what they call ground truth markers of focus.
Ground truth markers. What does that mean?
Basically, they've trained their AI by watching hundreds of people work. They rigorously measure a person's speed and accuracy in various tasks when they are demonstrably undistracted versus when they are constantly interrupted or distracted.
Oh, I see.
And through that, they've identified the specific universal brainwave patterns that correlate with those two distinct states.
So while you're wearing them, the headphones are just constantly asking the algorithm, hey, is this a focused brain right now or a distracted brain?
Right. And the user experience for the person wearing them is designed to be what they call neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback.
Yeah. If your brainwaves show flagging attention, like if the algorithm detects that your mind is starting to drift away from the spreadsheet you're looking at, the app intervenes.
Oh,
It might send a little ping to your phone with an alert saying something cheerful like, you've earned a brain break.
you've earned a brain break. Wow. It's literally gamifying your attention span.
It is.
Level up your focus to unlock more productivity.
In the civilian consumer world, yes, that's the pitch. But the military application is a lot more intense than just staying focused on a spreadsheet.
I would imagine.
The Air Force isn't just planning to use the luxury Master and Dynamic headphones. They're looking at integrating these fabric sensors into noise protectors for the flight line and directly into pilot helmets.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And they aren't just looking for mild distraction. They're doing extreme stress testing.
The source material mentions sleep deprivation specifically.
Right. They want to measure actual cognitive performance under severe pressure. How exactly does a pilot's brain look after 24 straight hours without sleep?
Yeah.
How does it look during a simulated high-stress combat scenario? The end goal is to identify the precise brain activity associated with optimal performance versus suboptimal performance.
So that the soldiers can learn to train themselves to self-regulate. It's
Exactly.
like extreme biohacking. The pilot thinks, okay, the helmet says my brain is drifting into the red zone. I need to consciously use a mental technique to shift my gears and get my brain waves back into the green zone.
That is the ultimate promise of the tech.
Yeah.
And to be completely fair to the developers in the military here, the medical and operational promise is genuinely huge. We really have to acknowledge the upside.
All right, let's play devil's advocate for the technology for a minute. Why should we, as a society, pursue this?
Readiness. Pure and simple. The military's entire job is to maintain a ready and able defense force.
Sure.
If a commander sends a pilot up into the air who is severely cognitively exhausted, that is a massive risk. It's a risk to the pilot's life, it's a risk to the multi-million-dollar aircraft, and it's a risk to the mission itself.
Right. We universally accept that a commander shouldn't send a pilot up who is actively having a heart attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would we send one up who is actively having a cognitive failure? We just haven't had the tools to measure the cognitive failure until now.
That makes a lot of sense from a command perspective. And the source also mentions civilian and health spin-offs that are pretty compelling.
This part is truly fascinating. Adam Molnar, who is the co-founder of Neurotech, points out that this kind of longitudinal brain data could eventually identify early indicators of Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease up to a decade before any physical symptoms ever appear.
A full decade. That is a massive head start for treatment.
It is, because your brainwaves change long before your hands start shaking or you start forgetting where you put your keys. The underlying electrical patterns shift first.
Wow.
So if we had longitudinal data, meaning years and years of your daily brain activity recorded just from you wearing your headphones at work, the AI could spot that subtle drift early. That represents a massive, undeniable public health benefit.
It really does. It is incredibly hard to argue against giving doctors a 10-year head start on catching Alzheimer's. But, and as regular listeners know, there is almost always a but on this show when it comes to new tech. We have to talk about the skeptics. Because using the word fitness is a very tricky thing when you start applying it to the human brain.
It is extremely tricky. The article introduces two major skeptical voices here. Jared Nagenser, who is from the Neuro Rights Foundation, and Sean Pozalski, who is a neurologist.
Okay.
And they raise this critical issue of neurodiscrimination.
Neurodiscrimination. Okay, break that concept down for us.
Let's go back to your physical fitness analogy from earlier.
The Garmin watch.
Right. If a soldier takes a physical fitness test and they can't do 50 pull-ups, the commanding officer can say to them, go to the gym, eat better protein, train harder, and try again next month.
And generally, with enough hard work, they can improve their physical output. There's a direct link between effort and physical results.
Exactly. But the brain operates differently. You cannot simply use sheer willpower to force your brain to change its fundamental electrical waves. Pozalski makes a really crucial point here about biological determinism. Some individual brains simply may not possess the neuroplasticity required to achieve the exact baseline state that the Air Force's algorithm decides is optimal.
So it's not that the soldier isn't trying hard enough
Yeah.
or that they aren't dedicated. It's just that their specific biology doesn't output the preferred waveform.
Exactly. And if an algorithm decides that your natural brain pattern is suboptimal and you literally cannot change it, you could face severe discrimination in your career.
You could be denied a promotion.
Yes. You could be denied a specific elite assignment. You are suddenly being judged not on your actual output, like did you fly the plane successfully and hit the target, but on your internal biological processing mechanism.
That is a subtle but massive shift in how we evaluate human beings. It's the difference between judging the physical result of your work and judging the biological process of your thoughts.
And it gets even messier than that. EEG data is inherently messy. It doesn't just neatly isolate and show focus, it picks up everything.
Right, the brain is doing a million things at once.
Exactly. So while they are looking for focus, the scan can accidentally reveal that you have subclinical epilepsy. It can reveal mild cognitive impairment. It can even reveal deep-seated emotional states.
So you sign up to wear a focus tracker to boost your productivity, and suddenly your commanding officer or your corporate boss knows you might be prone to seizures or that you're struggling with clinical depression.
Potentially, yes. And that immediately leads us right into the huge data security question.
Which is always the elephant in the room. What does Neurable say about this?
Neurable for their part, vigorously defends their tech. They say they actively filter out all that unneeded, non-focused data at the source, and they heavily encrypt whatever data they do send to the cloud or the military.
So their argument is essentially, hey, even if someone hacked the servers and stole the data, they wouldn't be able to make any sense of it without our proprietary algorithm.
Right. And the Air Force backs them up on the privacy front, confirming that in all their current experiments, the data is completely anonymized. They strip the names and identifying details off the files before analysis.
So, case closed. Problem solved.
If only it were that simple. The privacy experts, particularly Genzer and Pazowski, argue that this kind of protection is just a temporary illusion. We have to talk about the concept of the brain print.
The brain print. I assume that means my brainwaves are completely unique to me. Like a fingerprint.
As unique as a fingerprint, yes. Algorithms are getting so advanced now that they can identify a specific person based solely on their raw EEG data.
Really? Just from the waves?
Just from the waves, because it captures the specific speed of your mental processing, the unique physical structure of your brain activity. It's highly individualized.
So even if the file on the server just says subject 459, the data inside the file inherently screams, this is John Smith.
Exactly. And here is where generative AI comes back into our story as the ultimate villain.
Always does.
Right. As generative AI continues to improve exponentially, it will absolutely be able to take massive data sets of de-identified brain data, analyze those incredibly unique structural patterns, and cross-reference them with other stolen data, maybe your hacked medical records or the surveillance profiles, to completely re-identify the person.
So the defense that it's anonymous is just temporary. It might be anonymous today with today's tech, but in 5 years, a new AI might crack it open effortlessly.
Exactly. And as Jerry Genser points out, once your neural data is out there in a breach, it's out there forever.
Yeah.
You can't change your brainwaves. If your banking password gets hacked, you just log in and change it. If your brain print gets hacked and tied to your identity, you are compromised permanently.
Man, that really sits heavy. Compromised forever. You obviously can't just go out and get a new brain.
It should sit heavy. It's a sobering thought. But we actually need to go even deeper because we've only been talking about headphones so far.
Wearables. Things you can physically take off your head at the end of the day.
Right. But the article shifts gears about halfway through to discuss something much more intense and much more permanent. Invasive tech.
Implants, the stuff that goes literally inside your body.
Yes. And specifically, a program focused on artificial vision.
Okay, this part of the source material completely blew my mind when I read it. We're talking about bridging a digital camera directly into the human brain, right?
Yes. And again, this is initially being developed for the wounded warrior context.
Okay.
Imagine a soldier who has tragically lost their sight in combat. The Pentagon is actively funding technology that uses artificial intelligence to bridge the gap between an external digital camera and the user's living neural tissue.
How does that actually work in practice? Because the biological brain doesn't exactly have an HDMI port. It doesn't speak digital video.
No, it doesn't. And that is where the AI becomes critical. The AI acts as the real-time translator.
Okay.
First, it decodes what the person's eyes want to see, like
Wow.
he reads the signals of where the brain is attempting to look or focus its attention.
Right.
Then, it takes the raw digital data from the external camera, translates it into electrical signals that the biological brain can actually understand, things like shapes, motion, light contrast, and beams those translated signals directly into the visual cortex.
So the AI is literally curating reality for the user in real time.
Curating is a very polite word for it. It is entirely constructing their visual reality. And the system uses what they call closed-loop AI, which means the system constantly self-adjusts. If the brain seems confused by the image, the AI automatically adjusts the electrical signal to provide more detail or better contrast.
I mean, that sounds absolutely incredible for a blind veteran to give them back a form of sight.
It is an incredible medical achievement. But Giordano, the neuroethicist, points out the massive vulnerability here. This AI translator is operating completely unmonitored.
Right, because it's happening instantaneously inside someone's head.
Exactly.
What's the specific risk he's worried about?
Hacking reality itself. Because the AI controls the feed, it could theoretically falsify images. It could seamlessly omit elements from the visual field. Say, a hacker breaches the system and tells the AI to digitally remove a weapon from the approaching person's hand so the soldier doesn't see it as a threat.
That is terrifying.
Or, even simpler, it could just delay the transmission of the visual data by a tiny fraction of a second.
And in a combat zone or even just driving a car, a delay of a fraction of a second is life or death.
Exactly. This is known as the adversarial attack nightmare scenario. If an enemy force hacks the implant system, they aren't just passively stealing data to look at later. They are actively altering what the soldier physically sees. They can completely destroy a unit's situational awareness or even trigger artificial hallucinations.
And since the AI is closed loop and constantly learning on its own, could it potentially learn bad behavior without even being hacked?
Yes, that's another huge fear. Giordano warns that a self-learning AI can eventually learn to override its own safety guardrails. Well, it might analyze the brain's biofeedback and decide that showing you a specific visual threat is causing you too much stress or spiking your heart rate too high. So to quote-unquote help you stay calm, it just filters the threat out of your vision entirely.
Oh my God. The AI is literally gaslighting you for your own biological health.
It's a very distinct possibility with autonomous closed-loop systems. And while we are on the topic of these invasive medical implants, we definitely have to touch on the ALS research mentioned in the article, the BrainGate program.
BrainGate, this is the speech translation technology, right?
Yes, it's designed to translate imagined words directly into audible speech.
For patients who are locked in.
Exactly. For someone with advanced ALS who cannot move a single muscle and cannot speak, this tech provides total autonomy. It literally gives them their voice back by reading their intentions in the motor cortex. But fundamentally, technically speaking, it is mind reading. It is reading private neural signals and translating them into words before the person ever opens their mouth. And Giordano brings up the dual-use dilemma here.
The idea that tech can be used for both good and bad.
Exactly. The exact same technology that beautifully frees a paralyzed patient from their silent prison can seamlessly be repurposed to interrogate a prisoner of war or to silently monitor a soldier's private thoughts for loyalty.
And as we established way earlier with the whole HUPA conversation, there is basically no law stopping any of this from happening right now.
That is the final and probably most chilling pillar of this entire deep dive, the absolute legal vacuum we are operating in.
So we talked about HUPA being wildly outdated, but are there any other broader rights? Like, do I have a fundamental constitutional human right to mental privacy?
Currently, no, you do not.
Seriously?
Seriously, neither international human rights law nor U.S. federal regulations currently protect mental privacy or mental autonomy, which is essentially the legal concept of free will.
That is wild. You would just assume that freedom of thought would be the absolute most basic human right we have.
It was always assumed to be legally untouchable. We never needed to write a law protecting our private thoughts because, for all of human history, no one could possibly reach them.
But now they can reach them.
Now they can. The source does note that a tiny handful of places are trying to catch up. Only 4 U.S. states, California, Colorado, Connecticut, and Montana, currently have any state-level protections for neural data.
4 out of 50.
Yep. And globally, only one single country, Chile, has actually gone ahead and changed its national constitution to explicitly protect mental integrity.
What about other global powers? The article mentions China, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Ironically, China is noted in the report as having actually drafted national principles on BCI technology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Jenser quickly points out they are the, quote, least likely to use it ethically. The overwhelming fear in the defense community is that authoritarian regimes will eagerly jump on this technology as the ultimate tool for total societal control.
And meanwhile, the U.S. is just drifting.
We are totally drifting. And without clear legal limits, we run the massive risk of repeating the darkest chapters of our own history. And here, Genser drops the biggest historical warning in the entire article. He brings up MKUltra.
MKUltra, the infamous CIA mind control program.
Yes. Back in the Cold War era, the CIA actively tested LSD and various other psychoactive drugs on soldiers and completely unknowing civilians, often without any consent whatsoever, desperately trying to achieve mind control and psychological manipulation.
And it caused horrific, permanent harm to a lot of people.
It did. It was a dark period.
So the historical parallel they're drawing here is that modern neurotech is essentially the new LSD.
The article literally calls it the next version of MKUltra. That is a direct quote.
Wow.
The argument is that instead of using unpredictable chemical drugs, the military could use targeted neurostimulation. Instead of inducing chemical hallucinations, they use altered artificial vision feeds. The specific technological method changes, but the underlying goal-altering human brain activity for an operational or tactical gain remains exactly the same.
So after all of this, what is the actual call to action from these experts? How do we stop the MKUltra scenario?
The experts in the piece are uniformly calling for a comprehensive, Bill of Neurorights.
A bill of neuro rights? I like the sound of that.
We absolutely need clear legal limits, rigorous ethical review boards, and hard safeguards regarding national security applications. We simply cannot just let this technology develop in the dark and hope the market sorts it out for the best.
Okay, let's take a collective breath here. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've gone from consumer fitness headphones to hacking the visual cortex to CIA mind control programs. Let's try to summarize the core takeaways for the listener.
I think the best summary is this. We are currently standing right on the threshold of a new era. We are actively moving from the era of physical tracking, counting steps and heartbeats, into the era of mental tracking. The technology itself, driven heavily by this blending of consumer tech startups like Neurable and massive military funding,
Yeah.
is inevitable. It is going to happen, and it genuinely offers immense health benefits like catching Alzheimer's early or helping the blind see again.
But
But if we don't establish rock-solid legal protections right now, it aggressively opens the door to a world where your most private thoughts are just corporate data, where your ability to focus is just a metric to be ruthlessly judged, and where your very perception of reality can be hacked by a bad actor.
So the instructor's final take here is basically the technology is completely inevitable and it does offer incredible medical promise, but without a unified bill of neuro rights, the soldier on the front line and eventually the everyday citizen sitting at their desk is left totally vulnerable.
Exactly. The technology is already arriving. The legal framework to protect us is not.
I want to leave everyone listening with a specific thought that really stuck with me while we were preparing for this deep dive. We talked a lot about passwords and data breaches earlier.
Yeah, the brain print concept.
Right. Think about it this way. If someone steals your credit card number, you just call the bank and cancel it. If someone hacks your email account, you reset the password.
It's a hassle, but you can fix it.
Exactly. But if an algorithm flawlessly maps your brain, if it documents your hidden fears, your unique focus patterns, the exact neural structure of your mind, and then that algorithm decides, based on that data, that you aren't mentally fit for your job or your life, how do you ever prove that machine wrong?
You really can't. You can't reboot your brain to a previous setting, and you certainly can't go out and get a new one.
It's definitely something to think about the next time you put on a pair of smart headphones and settle into work. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and above all, protect your mind.
See you next time.